They say this is the house a young child escaped from and went to a neighbor's house asking for food and water. They said that that child was severely malnourished along with another one they found inside the same home. Now, we talked to neighbors in this area and they said that they don't really know the homeowner of this home very well, but she's in business with a woman who has gained a huge following online with YouTube videos getting hundreds of thousands of views.
So being a mom's a full-time job, but
popular Utah family vlogger Ruby Franke was arrested Wednesday. The 41-year-old mother of 6 is known for sharing clips of her children's daily lives on their now defunct YouTube channel, 8 Passengers.
No.
Today, she and her business partner, Jody Hildebrand, are accused of abusing some of them.
No. My bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. And they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago.
Police say a clearly malnourished 12-year-old child crawled out of the window of Hildebrand's Ivans area home. A neighbor called 911 when he showed up at their house asking for food and water. Officers say his wrists were duct taped. He had wounds from being tied up across his body. Investigators say they found a 10-year-old girl inside the same house who was also malnourished. Franke's family vlogs ended without a specific reason given. Franke now works for the Utah County company Connections along with Hildebrand. It's described as a treatment program for those with mental health and addiction issues. Connections has been the subject of a lot of controversy, specifically for its teachings on parenting. Many of Franke's siblings are also online content creators. Her sisters released a social media statement saying, quote, "Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe." Franke's eldest daughter, Sherry, posted this picture on Instagram with the caption, "Finally." In the next slide, she said her family is glad justice was served. She wrote, quote, "We've been trying to tell police and CPS for years about this," end quote. The Santa Clara Ivans Police Department did not provide an update on the children's condition. According to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Franke is still in custody. At this point, we know the Santa Clara Ivans Police Department is working with the Springville Police Department on this case. We will continue to bring you updates as we get them, both down here in southern Utah and up in Utah County. Shelby Lofton, KSL 5 News.
Why isn't Eve at the dinner table yet? She usually comes to dinner as soon as I call her.
Ruby Franke was a YouTube star, a mom who put herself, her family, and her parenting techniques on the internet for the world to see on her 8 Passengers channel. And millions watched. She gained many fans, but as her popularity grew, so did her number of critics who did not agree with her parenting skills. Then, her YouTube channel disappeared, and then drama surrounding her family blew up. The status of her marriage came into question, and her children started growing up into adulthood. Then things got drastically real for Ruby as she was arrested on child abuse charges. Tonight, we take a look at the rise and fall of Ruby Franke, bring in our experts to take a look at her parenting techniques, and examine the impact on the children of growing up publicly on YouTube as we investigate the case against 8 Passengers star Ruby Franke.
Is the world of these YouTube families, and that's who 8 Passengers were. It was a YouTube family. It was a mom and a dad, started out with some cell phone cameras, recording themselves, living life, and then posting it on.
Without bail and behind bars sits a woman who once freely roamed around her home, filming her family in front of up to 2.3 million subscribers. Ruby Franke, known as a momfluencer, documented the life of her husband and 6 children in southern Utah in her YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, which was taken down earlier this year. Come Wednesday, she resurfaced in the public eye when one of her children escaped through a window and knocked on a neighbor's door, requesting food and water. I got a hold of the police statement, which I'm holding right here. It says when the child arrived at the neighbor's home, the child had duct tape around his wrists and ankles. The neighbor immediately called police, and officers say when they arrived, that child had open wounds and was so malnourished, they immediately transported him to the hospital. Officers would later find another child in the same home, that home belonging to Frank's business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, who had a parent counseling service called Connections. She was arrested as well.
90% of the time when a child is hurt, it's by someone that they know and love.
Director of Prevent Child Abuse Utah, Lorianne Thorpe, says it's a tough reality to realize that abusers are often relatives or someone close to a family. Frank's oldest daughter, Sherry Frank, who is 20 years old, posted to her public Instagram today a photo of police with the caption, "Finally." She added another story saying, "Me and my family are so glad justice is being served. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this, and so glad they finally decided to step up. Kids are safe, but there's a long road ahead. Please keep them in your prayers and also respect their privacy."
I think it's really important to understand that children on average will disclose abuse 3 times before they get help or before they're believed. So it's really on us as adults who may be receiving this information to trust that a child is not making this up.
As of now, 4 children have been taken into custody of Child and Family Services. In Salt Lake City, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13.
We're seeing this coming. I don't think any of us could have ever seen this coming. We all did as much as we could legally, and you don't know what you don't know. I do feel a little bit numb at this point. The only thing that we ultimately care about is that our nieces and nephews are safe, and they are.
Okay, now take a look at what they're saying on Instagram. For the last 3 years, we've kept quiet on the subject of our sister, Ruby Franke, for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we've done everything we could to try to make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are safe now, which is the #1 priority. So it seems like her sisters are also in the social media game, talking about content, posting, etc. This story is something else. I'm going to need some help now to work our way through the rest of this. Joining us tonight in Los Angeles, California, senior reporter for thedailymail.com, host of the Daily Mail Crime on TikTok, and a victim advocate for Project Cold Case, Caitlin Becker.
Self-producing, so she controlled what people saw, and what people saw was a strict mom who would sometimes use threats and punishments like taking away basic necessities, punishing her one son by taking away his bed and making him sleep on a beanbag for several months because he teased his brother, punishing her daughter at 6 years old for forgetting to pack her own lunch at school, going hungry, refusing to go to school and give her lunch so she could be hungry and learn the lesson that she wouldn't forget to pack her lunch again. This child was 6 years old. And these aren't allegations. These are things that Ruby herself produced content on and put on her social media that her 2 million followers were liking, subscribing, and watching.
Now, the children, obviously children grow, and children grow up. Children become young adults. And she has 2 of her children that are young adults. Like her daughter's basically been kind of separating herself and kind of got herself out of that house.
That's exactly right. Vinny, earlier when you were mentioning the sort of group of people responding to Ruby's arrest saying, okay, what a relief, we were waiting for this to happen. Her eldest child, Sherry, her daughter, was one of those people. She posted on social media that she knew that this was happening and they had been trying to get CPS and police involved and was just happy that it was finally done. From what I understand, Sherry does not have a relationship or any communication with her mother. And now, thankfully, these 4 minor children are out of the care of Ruby.
Now, when they were posting videos, mom and dad were in the videos that I've seen, right? I've seen clips of some, I've seen others, and it seems like mom and dad are together. Obviously, mom is really steering the whole ship, but there's problem in the household, right? Mom and dad separated from one another.
It does appear that they are not together anymore, but for some time, 8 passengers should tell you all you need to know as to whether or not the dad was involved, at least at the onset, because he was one of those 8 passengers, which was the title of the YouTube channel. But when this all went down, the arrest did not happen in Ruby's home. She was staying with Jody, and in statements that her husband Kevin has made, he said through his attorney that he had no idea this kind of abuse was going on. Had he would have intervened or stepped in, and that Ruby had taken the children and gone away for the summer. So it didn't appear that they had an intimate relationship, at least as early as the summer.
I mean, this child had to escape to find food from a neighbor. I mean, living in beautiful homes, right, in a beautiful part of the country. Obviously, they have some money, and it makes you wonder if this was part of the parenting or the punishment for a child that didn't do something.
It's exactly what I'm wondering. These are beautiful homes. You can see that they do have a certain amount of money with all those YouTube subscribers. You know she was making a decent amount. This does not appear to be a case where the family lived in a food desert or where there was food insecurity for these children. It looks like, if the allegations are true, this was purposefully done. You have a 12-year-old boy who, at 12 years old, you're aware of exactly what's going on in your life, allegedly escaping out of Jody Hildebrandt's home, going to a neighbor, as you said, asking for food and water. And it was that neighbor that saw not only was this child emaciated, but he had open wounds on his body that investigators say were from being restrained by ropes, as well as duct tape on his extremities. And when investigators came, they found their 10-year-old Eve in the same or similar condition. Both children were taken into emergency care. So it doesn't seem like this family didn't have enough to eat, particularly when you add in the restraints and the duct tape.